The Future of Business, AI Paves the Way by Harrison Wang, Kai Peng, Hiroyuki Kobayashi, Yangqi Peng, and Yujin Zhao.
As the technology continues to innovate and evolve, companies have more power and options than they had ever dreamed. Some of these revolutionize the industry. One of these ideas is AI and data. AI is a system that is designed to think more like a person. It can help make more personality decisions for a special individual. And AI and data have become essential tools to survive and operate as a modern company. In the age of the data, AI is quintessential for companies to give customers what they want within a reasonable time, and can also help companies make decisions based on data that no human can crush and condense. In fact, it is projected that most companies will have to use AI in the future just to complete. But how do we implement this AI, and what ethics and responsibility are needed to implement AI effectively? AI and data are the future of our lives. As things become increasingly automated, AI is needed more than ever to keep up with demand at a responsible pace. While it is a useful tool, AI and data should also be used responsibly. In the three papers presented, we will argue the significance of AI to the future development of business and how it can be implemented.
Putting responsible AI into practice. As AI becomes more advanced and sophisticated, it will be used in more complex problems. However, with that in mind, AI systems may violate more ethical, legal, and cultural norms if left unregulated. That's why responsible AI is so important for organizations, and to establish high-level principles and guidance when managing system-level change so AI can be used responsibly. To determine whether and how the principles of responsible AI are being applied in practice, 24 AI practitioners across multiple industries and fields were interviewed. They discussed three main phases of transition: prevalent, emerging, and aspirational. In the state of field, most practitioners said that most companies' approach to responsible AI was reactive, citing reputational risk and compliance risk as the reason. If responsible AI were to succeed, then it needs organizational support along with governance accountability with more coordination on the topic. In the short term, with more emerging technologies and increasing demands, there are more emerging risks. On the bright side, AI training initiatives will increase, thus bolstering responsible AI training. For the future of responsible AI, ideally organizations need standard processes, communication, and transparency. Personal metrics and products should be intertwined, and decisions that are made are transparent. So what next? Well, companies can take a few key steps to bring the AI principles to practice, including creating organizational transparency and diffuse accountability, and creating governance structures and identifying roles and expectations around responsible AI practices.
Let's start by asking, what is good data? High quality data must meet four dimensions: accuracy, completeness, interpretability, and accessibility. Whether AI can display their ability deployed is heavily dependent on data accessibility. Data accessibility is often treated as an IT problem. In reality, it is a management issue that involves technology. To understand what data accessibility is so often overlooked, we need to examine each of the 5 phases of the IT life cycle. Phase 1: Ideation. The ideation phase serves to identify potential high-level business cases for AI in the organization. During this phase, the focus is on data existence rather than data accessibility. Phase 2, Blueprint. A comprehensive case, including some details, is generated during the blueprint phase, and data accessibility is still assessed on the existence of data. Phase 3, Proof of Concept. In the proof of concept phase, data scientists build one or more models to implement the agreed upon cases. The teams focus on extracting data from source systems to advance their work, giving little consideration to how data will be assessed once the AI goes into production. Phase 4, Minimum Viable Product. A variant of the proof of concept is refined into a minimum viable product, or MVP. In the first few phases, the teams focused almost only on the scientific part of AI work. Considerations about data accessibility in production may be neglected. Phase 5, Production. Data in the lab were created from historical data snapshots. In the last phase, the refined MVP that contains the AI must use data sourced from production systems. AI may even fail to materialize if data cannot be proved, extracted, and integrated by system at the capacity or speed required by AI. To better management data accessibility for AI, you need to do the following. Treat data accessibility as a management issue first, and a technical issue second. Acknowledge the data value of organization data for AI, and focus on data accessibility at the beginning of AI initiatives.
Building an organizational approach to responsible AI. Technology has advanced and become ubiquitous in our lives. However, AI can be tremendously valuable. All companies will need to become AI companies to leverage the benefits of AI. AI-driven companies that might seek to get market share. To do this, they must adopt best practices for responsible transformation with AI. Our platform identifies 3 foundational changes that companies must make to implement responsible AI. Number 1, the whole organization must be engaged with the AI strategy, which involves a total organizational review and potential changes. All employees need education and training to understand how AI is used in the company. Additionally, employees understand how to use AI will impact their work and potentially help them to do their jobs. Number 3, responsibility for AI products does not end at the point of sale. Companies must engage in proactive responsible AI audits for all ideas and products. AI can help protect stakeholder trust and save companies money, but companies must take proper measures to address bias in algorithms. AI can be helpful in hiring and reskilling employees, but companies must recognize the drawbacks of some algorithms when used for these purposes, and develop AI policies. As AI touches more of society, companies need to develop strategies and responsible AI and communicate them well to stakeholders in order to maintain accountability. To gain traction throughout an organization, support for responsible AI needs to come from its leadership.
Reflecting on this topic, the implementation of responsible AI in a company is an important part of many companies in the future. To stay afloat and to grow in this competitive marketplace, companies will have to adopt AI into their systems to meet rising demands from consumers. However, the implementation of AI must be done responsibly and ethically, and our group believes this to be an important part of an implementation of AI can succeed. All these above articles all discuss the need for AI and the implementation procedures, as well as ethics and the role of data in AI. The through line is that all these articles discuss what is needed of a business to implement AI. As more and more companies use AI to streamline practices and to improve efficiency, the more important it is to have responsible practices and uphold ethical standards. This includes companies being transparent about their AI and also upholding accountability. To ensure an ethical culture, leadership must also be willing to support such projects by articulating values and make sure practice line up with those values, as well as giving adequate training to employees about responsible AI. Personal metrics and the business should be intertwined, as well as having clear communication between the company and the users, as well as implementing standard procedures. Qualitative and more risky investments should be explored to make investments for the far future. The higher-ups should also be aware of every part of the development of AI, including the usage and the access of good data.
The articles above all illustrate a part of the 31266 syllabus. It discusses AI, which we learnt about, as well as responsibility and ethics in information systems. These articles are an extension of AI and ethics in our 31266 lectures. For our visionary idea, I want all companies in the future to implement AI responsibly. These papers give a rough outline on how to approach implementation of AI, as well as informing about the responsibility and support needed for it to be effective. The papers present a method for companies to apply when creating an AI system or to improve their current system. These methods are examined from the paper and have proven effective. The first article talks about how to put responsible AI into practice, which relates as an introductory segment to why responsible AI is beneficial for companies. We move on to the next article, which details the importance of data to an AI system and how to implement one in a company. This serves as a guide. Last but not least, the third article details how to make an AI system work long-term and the responsible practices needed to sustain an AI system. All these articles combine to form a cohesive argument for the use of responsible AI in a company, thus helping argue our visionary idea. Here are our references. Thanks for watching.